Hi, I'm Russell Holden. We're in the Cadillac and I'm on my way up to see Peter Logan from Logan's Wines. Today we're going to do a wonderful pork dish which I've managed to get some local chestnuts and some local Pink Lady apples, and we're going to make a stuffing to go into the free range pork and roll it and roast it, and I'm hoping that Peter Logan will be able to guide us to get a very nice fruity wine that will go with the pork dish. So let's go up the road and have a chat to Peter and see what we can get. Peter, how are you?
Hey Russell, good, thanks.
Good. Peter, we're doing a nice pork dish today, and I'm going to put some chestnuts and some apple and some other bits and pieces, and I come to see you about a nice bottle of wine to go with it.
Well, I reckon a nice apple tree flat Semsav Blanc.
Right, nice and fruity?
Nice and fruity, fresh and crisp, should go well.
Good. Tell me a bit about the wine, Peter.
Well, the great thing about the Mudgee area is you've got a range of different climates. So on one side of town, where it's about 500 metres, it's great for growing Semillon with real character, freshness and crispness. And then you go up to areas 1,100 metres above sea level, real cold climate stuff, good for Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir, things like that. So you can make great Sauvignon Blancs together from the one region.
Wonderful, Peter. I'll
try,
grab a couple of bottles of those. It's great. Now we've got local pork and local fruit and local vegetables, local wine. Now it'll take me a couple of hours to put the dish together. I'll give you a call. Why don't you come down and join us for lunch?
See you later.
Okay. Hello, I'm Russell Holden and welcome to the Cadillac Cook. This morning we're going to do some wonderful free-range pork, and we're going to use some local chestnuts and put it all together in a nice dish and serve it with some roast vegetables. As soon as the pork arrives, we'll get started.
Morning.
James, how are you?
Very well.
Ah, that's my lovely piece of free-range pork.
It is indeed.
Beautiful colour. Nice bit of pork fillet still left in there. Get started on the preparation of this, and once we've got organised, I wouldn't mind going out and having a look at the farm. Alright, the first thing we have to do is bone this beautiful loin of pork out, and there's a couple of things that we should note about that. If we slide the knife down there, the first thing we get off is this wonderful pork fillet, and then to bone it around we actually just feel where the bone is just in there, and there's a couple of ribs just there. Work the knife down around hard against the ribs to make sure that you get the maximum amount of meat off. Down like that, so, down around the back of the loin, like so. Just open it up so you've got plenty of room to work. I'm just going to basically slit it in half down the middle so that it opens out. We don't want to go all the way through, we just want one nice long flat piece. And the reason for that is because we want to be able to roll that later on. So what we're going to do is something a little different. The first thing we're going to do is just crush up some cinnamon pods, a little bit of rock salt and some black pepper. And I might actually get you to work on that, James.
Okay.
While I start and get the chestnuts out and everything for the next part of the process. So if you just want to stand there and...
Just up to a sort of finish or coarsish.
Yeah. So this is beautiful fresh parsley straight out of my garden this morning, and we're just going to finally shred that because that will be put in with the mixture, the seasoning mixture. We'll season the pork with both this seasoning mixture and some parsley, and then we'll let that sit because the pork will actually absorb the seasoning by allowing it to sit for a little bit. And we'll make the stuffing while that's actually sitting. So, just like that. And then we'll just fold that over, turn it over like that, and leave that sit for a couple of minutes. And we'll put all this aside and start on the stuffing. So to make the stuffing, we're going to start with these wonderful local chestnuts. Now that's a raw chestnut, and if I cut that in half, you'll see that it's that's what they look like, nice and creamy, yellow. Now these are some chestnuts that I cooked earlier, and in cooking chestnuts all you need to do is put them in the oven and they will actually internally roast. The problem with that is if you let them get too hot, they actually tend to explode. So you don't want them to get too hot, and the trick is to know when they're hot enough to have been roasted, and as soon as you can smell them from outside of the oven, then they are already hot enough, and if you let them go any longer, they will explode. So we've peeled some of the chestnuts. What we do now is just quite simply we cut the whole ones in half, and we just roughly slice them up like so. And I'm just going to bring them to the boil for a minute in some of that wonderful Semillon Sauv Blanc. And that'll just soften them up a bit, and we'll actually use the juices that are there. We'll do the rest of the stuffing. We've got some bread. Now, this is deliberately a couple of days old, and the reason for that is that it's a lot easier to handle. If it had been totally fresh, it would just crush, and we don't want it to crush. We actually want to be able to get it into nice small chunks. To the breadcrumbs, we're going to add some currants and a beautiful farm fresh egg. How do I know they're fresh? Because they came from my farm. And the last thing I'll add to that, some of these beautiful fresh local Pink Lady apples. And all we're going to do then, we'll leave the skins on because we want them to be reasonably chunky. So that's that mixture. And you can see there's a fair amount there for the pork. So we're actually now just going to add the chestnuts to that with that wonderful Semillon Sauv Blanc into the mixture. And we'll mix that around. So the moisture and the heat will soften the bread, and that with the egg, I might just add one more of these wonderful eggs of mine into it. So that's had plenty of time now for the seasoning to absorb into the pork and absorb the flavours up. So we'll now add the stuffing to it. Now you need to have just slightly moist hands to do this because you actually want to create a bit of a roll. Now, the next thing to do is roll it. And I'll turn the board this way. So you pick that up and you'll see that I've positioned that so that that flap will just about go over and meet the roll, and that actually keeps that roll where I want it to be. It keeps the shape, it keeps the presentation. And now I roll it over, and I'll just give those a bit of a push, shove those couple of bits back in there. We take some butcher's twine, put a little loop in the end of the butcher's twine, like so, and then feed it back through the loop so that you've got a slip knot, and then you put the slip knot over the end like so, and then just position it. You want to get as much of that stuffing in behind the slip knot, so when you pull it tight it actually closes the gap up and prevents very much of that stuffing coming out. So once you've done that, you've got it nice and tight, I'm happy with that. Then by twisting around, you actually effectively create a second slip knot, and you work it down the pork. So having done that, I'll just roll that over, and I'll actually, now I'll cut my piece of string, like so, and so now you can see I'm back at the beginning, and all I do is loop that under there and give it a pull and tie a knot. And we're going to put that on that tray. We'll just get rid of that last bit of string there. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of local olive oil. This is Offa olives from Ballindar, and just going to drizzle a little bit and just rub that. And then we'll just season that with a bit of salt, and that will actually make the crackling go nice and crispy. And the key to making crispy crackling is first of all to season it, put it in a very hot oven so that it dries it out immediately, then turn the pork down. That'll also seal the pork and keep the juices in, and then you can guarantee you've always got nice crackling. We'll put that in the oven. While that's cooking, I think we might grab James and jump in the Cadillac and go and have a look at his pork farm.